Good day everyone, I'm Angela, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, the W2c and 941X 2024 to 2025 updates on how to correct your W2s and 941S properly. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Mark Swartz. Mark Swartz is an employment tax specialist with over 25 years of payroll tax experience. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, and welcome everybody to today's audio conference on amending forms W2 and 941. We do the best we can to get those forms correct and filed on time, but sometimes other human beings that we work with just don't cooperate, and different data comes in late, and so we end up having to submit either W2cs or 941Xs, and that's going to be the focus of this webinar. So our agenda for today, we'll start with the W2, W2c and W3c. So we'll start with W2s. We'll talk about general guidelines for the W2c, common W2 errors that make it necessary for you to file a W2c. Then we'll talk about what's new in the instruction sheets for the last couple of years, for 2024, and what they have in store for 2025. We'll let you know what that is. And then we'll talk about general instructions for the W2c and the W23, specific instructions for W2cs and W3cs. And then second part of the audio conference will be about the 941X, and we'll talk about the general guidelines and then common 941 problems that make it necessary for you to file 941Xs. And then we'll say what's new for 2024, 2025, a few reminders from the IRS, and then specific instructions for the 941X. Sorry about the typo. Okay, so W2c general guidelines. If you use your own software to prepare and submit paper form W2c, follow the instructions in Social Security's Information for Software Developers. Other general guidelines. All right, some common W2 errors that necessitate use of W2cs. Other errors. All right, so general instructions for W2c and W23. Do not use form W2c to correct a W2g, which are certain gambling winnings. File a form W2c to correct the name/social security number reported on the most recently filed form W2. Correcting an employee's name and or social security number only. All right, so for correcting an incorrect tax year or EIN that was incorrectly reported on form W2 or form W3. So to correct those, you must prepare two sets of forms W2c and W3c. Do not file form W2c with the SSA merely to correct the address. All right, so some specific instructions, some box by box instructions for the W2c. Box E of the W2c. Boxes 1 through 20. Okay, so again, W3Cs, you don't want to staple them to the W2Cs, and this is only if you file them on paper. W3C box A is tax year of the form corrected. Box C is the kind of payer. Check the box that applies to you. Check only one box. Box D is the number of W2Cs that you're correcting. Okay, box 3 of a W3C is for your employer's state ID number. All right, so the numbered boxes, you enter the total amount of amounts reported in boxes 1 through 8. Box 14 is to correct income tax withheld by third-party sick payers. There's a texting box for explaining decreases. Now we'll talk about 941Xs. 2024 941Xs, since 2025 Xs haven't been filed yet. So when do you file Form 941X? When you discover an error on a previously filed Form 941. Due dates. The due date for filing Form 941X depends on when you discover an error and if you're underreported or overreported the tax. Common 941 problems that create a need to file a 941X. All right, so what's new for the last couple of years? Deferred Social Security, some other specific changes. So for Form 941SS is discontinued after 2023, and the Form 941PR was discontinued after 2023 as well. All right, some reminders. The qualified small business payroll tax credit for increasing research activities. Other reminders. If there were tax exempt organizations affected by qualified disasters. All right, to correct federal income tax withheld on a 941X. So some step-by-step instructions for 941X. All right, 941X Part 1. Okay, Part 2. Part 3 is where you enter the corrections for the quarter. Line 9, line 14, line 17, Part 3, line 19, Part 3, line 25, 28, 32 ends the slide presentation. So there's a lot of, lot of information on this particular one. Thanks for your patience and have yourselves a great rest of the work week.
Once again, thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. That concludes all the session for today. Thank you, everyone, for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead.